Hello and welcome to GM Tips. GM Rick here. I wanted to just give you a hearty hello from lovely Springdale, Arkansas, where there is a major Walmart shareholder meeting going on. It's amazing. You get here for business and then you end up finding out that a lot of other business is going on. Speaking of business, I will say one thing to everybody. And right now I think everybody is going nuttier than a fruitcake with the G7 and the climate and all these things. My fellow geeks, please hear me out just for 2 seconds, and I'll make it no more than 10-20 seconds on here. Please surround yourself with people of different thinking and mindsets. Too often we surround ourselves with people who are united in a cause that we believe in, and what it does is it fuels us sometimes to have a very narrow view of life. And I've been around folks I'm 40 going on 49 years old. And I've been through the stage of the cause, the activist, all the other things. And let me tell you, the one thing you find in life is you kind of even out as you get to listen to many points of view. It almost brings a sense of not missing the forest for the tree. So I just say in this time of insanity, please don't miss the forest for the tree. Just because something doesn't go the way you want it to cause-wise or for whatever to better your life, realize that there is a bigger picture. And sometimes we get caught in our own tree, and we miss that. That's it. That's the only thing I'm going to say. So going in, I'm using this, and again, this is Pathfinder. I could pick any book. I could have picked a D&D one. I could have picked a Numenera or a Cipher System or Savage Worlds. I could have picked any of these. I use this a little bit because I want to talk about something called subplots. Now, when we design our campaign, we have a main plot or theme in mind as a GM. Whether it's a space campaign, whether it's a medieval campaign, whether it's a steampunk campaign, whether it is a D20 modern campaign, past, a Malfox campaign, a Vampire the Legend campaign, whether it's a White Wolf campaign, whatever campaign system, GURPS, I mean, let's just hit them all. No matter what campaign you design, you have a main plot in mind that you're trying to draw your characters into and your players. And we've talked about that a little bit before. A long time ago, I did a video on that, and I give a lot of props to Evil Squeegee because he was the one that came up with a lot of concepts, and I expanded on them a little bit. But he had some great ideas when it came up to the fact of 4 things. And keep these in mind whenever you're designing plots, subplots, whatever else. You want to have a hook that draws your players in, whatever that hook may be. And then from there, with that hook and purpose, you build obstacles in order for them to achieve that hook or purpose. And after that, it's up to the players. And the players then come in contact with it. And they make decisions on which path and how they're going to solve the hook. Okay? That's something we can't control. We try to sometimes. We try to railroad players sometimes. We try to do different things. The subplot comes in for many reasons. Okay, that main plot is one thing. Why use subplots? Here's why I think subplots are important. Subplots, number one, can be used to address things in the player's backstory that are important to them. So say, in this Osirian campaign, okay, where I'm bringing them in, and again, I'll pick one of the modules out of there. So let's do module number 2, Empty Graves. Based in one of the Osirian cities, dealing with their quarter on the dead quarter, or their dead city quarter. They have a live city quarter and a dead city quarter. And the dead city quarter is, revolving around a plague that happened in that city. That they honor the dead from that plague and give their souls rest by putting up a whole city section for them. Okay? Subplots come in. So the main plot here is dealing with a pharaoh, an ancient pharaoh, and his devices, and a cult wanting to reenact and try to rebuild on those devices. Okay, I'm not going to give too much away. It's just kind of the overleading plot. Okay, so your players have that, and they're getting drawn in somewhat to that idea. And they've met, and they've kind of got that overall theme and idea in their head. Now, what keeps them to the overall campaign itself? Because sometimes that overall overreaching thing doesn't achieve their character's goals or their character's background, or it gives them no meat to further draw them in, other than they've got to get from point A to B to keep C from happening, or to help C to happen. So, a subplot can be used to say, okay, in this grand scheme of getting A plus B to get to C, here is x squared plus y, which equals z squared. So z squared may be a side plot that ties somewhat into the main plot, but has to do with something in your character, your player character's background. Now, that's just one type of subplot, mind you. There's a couple I'm going to hit, but I think this one, in my mind, is one of the more effectual ones, in the fact that it draws your players to have a personal investment into the campaign. So often they don't have a personal investment unless you write that whole subplot or that whole plot around each one of their backgrounds, which is very difficult to do because players often don't design the same type of characters with the same motives and the same goals and the same type of things. So let's take this for instance. You're in the desert of Osirian, okay, which is a Egyptian campaign, as if you can't tell. You know, Osirian, legacy of the pharaohs, all right? So you're in this ancient land, and it could be the I series from D&D, which is the pharaohs. It could be something in the cipher system where you're going back to an old pharaohic grave, whatever it may be. So you tie the players in a way that is personal to them. For instance, say your player hates a certain society or group because of what they did to his people or her people. Maybe it's enslavement. Maybe it's they discredited one of their parents or one of their uncles, and because of it, it caused chaos in the family. So how do you link that into an Osirian campaign or an Egyptian campaign? Well, maybe the person that discredited their family had to do with the same cult that you are trying to stop. And because of this, one of those cult members or one of those cult members' family members affected your family in that way in order to further the overall main goal. Oh, now you got a tie-in. Now it's personal. Now it draws the player in a way that normally they don't get drawn into a campaign. Because let's be honest, people find it important. They know they got to do this plot. It's like, okay, I got to do this plot. Engage their character's background, and the plot is on. Now the players have another level of involvement. Now they're much more invested. Say one of your characters is an art thief or a relic thief, a relic hunter. And there was a relic that evaded them and was lost, and it cost lives in their family or cost them time or value or cost them reputation with a certain group. Well, now the story brings that back into involvement, that there's another piece to that piece they were looking for. So now they have a chance to rekindle face or avenge that family member or stop the curse that's been plaguing their family for so long. Bing! They're drawn in. That's where it takes a little creativity on your part. Get to know your players' backgrounds, and I emphasize this time and again. Have your players write out a background, a backstory, and then what their overall goals in life are going forward. And through that, you can develop subplots that match these. Now, what other type of subplots are there? Maybe there's a subplot to gain favor into a group or a society they're trying to be a part of, or to help them to do a side deal that will give them benefit either on their skills, their knowledge, their reputation. So those type of subplots also play in factor. So say they're trying to become part of a consortium, a traders or smugglers. Let's take a smugglers consortium for the futuristic games. So they're trying to get into the smugglers consortium. Well, in order to do that, they must go back to this Egyptian-like planet and find a piece of technology that these Egyptian-based flavored cultures had that was important to them, that advanced their race. And by finding that knowledge and bringing back that knowledge, i.e. Numenera, they can get a boost or a perk on their abilities or their roles or their knowledge, or maybe gives them a new skill or ability that they wouldn't have had before. Now you've got another level of buy-in, because they're doing something to either further their reputation, help their abilities, make them a better, more respected person. These are things that are more infamous. So these are things that, can really affect the game flow and help the players to really have a deeper buy-in through it. Maybe there's a certain reward. So in other words, the subplot takes them somewhere. So in this one, let's go back to, again, a D&D or a Pathfinder style campaign. Overall, they're trying to stop this pharaoh, but in order to do that, they've got to gain the favor of the Ruby Prince of Osirian. So to do that, they recover some other amazing artifacts or knowledges on a side plot that furthers their reputation with the Ruby Prince and his throne. So now they're buying in and getting some boons from him that may be invaluable in helping them and preventing other forces at work from succeeding. Big buy-in for the players, because that means they get some major prop roles and devices in the plot that can help them and help them to achieve the overall goal in a much more effective way. So again, subplot comes in. So again, I know people say they have a keep it simple rule. I agree with that somewhat, but it doesn't always draw your players in. And so if you're not getting the player buy-in, these subplots are what's going to get the player deeper into your campaign and deeper into the overall campaign goal, or maybe motive or hook, however you want to call it. It draws them in a deeper way and invests them in a deeper way. What are some other type of subplot things? Maybe it's another rival that comes in that can affect the overall hook. So now they have something introduced that affects the equation that wasn't there before. So maybe, like in this one, you've got some sort of consortium or group that's causing problems. Okay, let's introduce a second one. Now, these guys can either become, or ladies can become an ally or an opponent that helps the other side or helps the player side. So now they're working with alliance games and skills and diplomacy and bluffing and subterfuge and maybe discreditation. So now you've got a whole other set of plots that really gets the juices going. It gets the players thinking. And so those kind of things, and when you use those devices in there, they really, really mix things up. So let me give you some ideas on subplots, okay? So, George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones. Most people have seen it. Majority of the people either love the books, or they love the series, or they love both, okay? Main plot, Robb Stark is trying to regain his family's name and deal with the Lannisters. Why? Because his father was wrongly killed by Cersei Lannister, or Stannis Baratheon. And And Circe manipulated and brought the death of Stannis. Okay. So, again, sorry if you haven't read the books, a little bit of a spoiler. Not a huge one. The Red Wedding plot. That was a subplot. What did it do? It took the main plot and the main characters and threw them up in the air. It threw people into turmoil. They didn't know what to do. When I read it in the book, my mouth hit the floor. I was like, he did not. He killed off some major goodies. What the heck? And now the major baddies are getting a major leg up? What the heck? But then there was another little subplot with the imp. If you guys remember that, and I'm not going to give that away because then I'll get too much giving away. But there was a plot where he threw the Lannister throne into turmoil. Another subplot. You see where this goes. And what does it do? It sucks people in because they're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. What the heck? Where did that come from? That's how you use subplots. You don't make them predictable. Please don't make them so predictable your players can see them coming. Have them come in a subtle way, or even with sometimes a big bang, that makes everybody sit up and take notice. And see, as you do this, you gain a new level of interest that maybe, okay, so you were going along and the party wasn't so tied in, and now we are. And now they're really tied in. And you can weave all kinds of little subplots. Now, don't go crazy because you don't want too many of these. And you don't want to introduce them all at once. Like if you notice, Varys the spider, who is in the Game of Thrones, he didn't throw 50 twists in. That was more Littlefinger's device. He did little things here and there, and sewed little things, subplots here and there, to make it all come together for the betterment of the realm. That's how you can use subplots. And again, don't throw them all out at once. Bring them in at different points. These little subplots can really take the story some different directions. So, for instance, the main plots take the players to a area where they're going to find the main bad guy. Well, maybe you take them on some side things that introduces a little more of that back history about that bad. That without that knowledge, the players couldn't have an equal footing or a better footing to deal with the bad. Now you've introduced knowledge that's important, that may have not been there before, but you sew it in as a way of saying, hey, let me give you a little leg up on things. And so these are important little subplots that can introduce key help that maybe the original story didn't give you, or the original module didn't give you. So Tomb of Tomb of the Pharaoh in the Ice series. Maybe there's stuff there that you could have introduced about that Pharaoh that would have given the players a better idea of what lay within that tomb, and how that Pharaoh would prevent grave robbing, and other little things that then make the players a little bit more aware of what they're up against. Doesn't give too much away, but gives enough that it ties them in a deeper investment. So you can use subplots for so many different things if you just know how to weave the story. And that's going to come with time. Again, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to weave some subplots. They're not always going to work out. That's okay. Your players will appreciate the twists. They really will. Even if you don't always enact them effectively, they're going to recognize how much effort you're putting into that campaign and how important it is to you and how important you're taking the time to do subplots are. And if some of them have been through the modules before or the path, they can sit there and go, wow, didn't they dress that up a little differently than I expected? And that's really cool. So it's not the same old for them. Now it takes a different flair and a different flavor. And that's the cool part about running these things. whether it's bringing maybe a baddie back. So say you had a campaign before you went into your desert campaign of sorts, or desert world, or desert whatever, for whatever system. Say 2 adventures ago, you had a baddie, and that baddie kind of got away, or had relatives, or had other tie-ins. Now you can tie back that original campaign to the new one, bringing back a storyline that maybe players liked 2 campaigns ago, and you didn't let it totally die. Now you can introduce a little thread here and there that says maybe all isn't defeated. Maybe all isn't right in Camelot. Maybe all isn't right in the Star Imperium. Maybe all isn't right in the Avengers Guild. Maybe all isn't right in the city of Metropolis. And you weave it in. And see, that's the kind of thing with subplots. You can have some real fun and bring back some real fun from previous campaigns without fully maybe bringing that bad guy back, but you bring back an element of them that then gets the players re-engaged again. Because, see, they had a personal investment 2 campaigns ago. And so you can do little loopers like that. Or maybe you do a prelude to an upcoming one after it. So now this prelude kind of lays the groundwork that when the players start with their new characters, they've already kind of got a little investment in there because they remember it from the previous campaign. So there's so much you can do with subplots. And I love them. For me, they're a device that once I discovered are amazing. And there's so many of you can use. And you can look them up in the books. Like a lot of the Game Master's guides or DM's guides have sections on plots and subplots. And you can get ideas from reading these. So I know the GM's guide with Pathfinder has it. I know you can find it on their their SRD or PFRD, and then you can find or PRD, or you can find the same things with Dungeons and Dragons on their SRD, or maybe with some of the other materials like Shadowrun, you can find it in a book that maybe is a digital PDF that'll give you those kind of subplots for a futuristic campaign, or in Gamma World, or in so many of the others, GURPS. There's a lot you can do. I know that Midgard has put out a new GM's guide thing of just where people are sharing different things about the GMs. You may find some hooks in there as well. So there's different material that you can get that will help you with this and really get those type of things going and get the juices moving. So I just wanted to take these 23 minutes this week to do a GM tips on subplots. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it gets you thinking a little bit more of expansion and where you can go with things. Again, GM Rick here. May you guys have a wonderful creative week.